All right, so the time is now 6:35, and we're going to open the meeting for the Plympton Zoning Board of Appeals. There are two matters on for this evening. The first is Arthur Bloomquist's request for a special permit for an ADU, I believe, and no, what was two-family conversion? Sorry, and that was the first item, and the second item is renewal of kennel licenses. So we scheduled one for 6:30, the other for 7:30. So we'll deal with Mr. Bloomquist's matter first. But before we do that, we have a housekeeping matter to attend. We need to vote in a third voting member because Suzanne Jafarian, our chair, is not present tonight. So I nominate Dave Alberti to be the voting member for Mr. Bloomquist's matter. Do I have a second?
Second.
All right, all in favor? Aye. All right. So now Dave is officially the third voting member, and we'll deal with, and when we get to the second matter, we'll vote in. We'll deal with the vote at that time. Right. So, all right. So, Mr. Bloomquist,
yes,
why don't you tell us a bit about what you want to do and why you need a special permit?
Yeah. I was talking to the building department about this project here. What I'd like to do is take the single-family home that's existing right now. There's no avenue within the building department for us to do that. It has to go before ZBA. What they said was that if, in fact, the house had not been there, and now we're building both of them together at the same time, it would just be a building, be all set. Okay, but there is no avenue within the building department, so they asked me to come here. Okay, the addition would be on the front of the house. Okay, you folks have the plan, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Here's a floor of just that particular spot.
All right. Thank you.
Take a look at that.
Thank you.
Thanks, Doc. Okay, good. There's another copy for you. Okay. I'm glad I made copies. Okay. So the plan is to take to build up the front of the house. This is a garage right here at this particular spot. Put a breezeway here, and then a one-bedroom addition over here. The ultimate plan here is something my wife and I have discussed many times. I'm 73, okay? And even though my grandchildren think I'm old as dirt, I don't think that, okay? But the truth is, someday I'm gonna have trouble doing stairs, someday I'm gonna have trouble. My wife was in a wheelchair for a period of time because of a back problem, and maybe someday that's gonna happen again to either her or to me, okay? So the plan here is that we wanna keep this as an opportunity for us to move into if we are in a situation where we have to. It wouldn't happen soon, okay? So far, my wife and I are both healthy, okay? But like with my mom and dad, at the end of my mom's life, she was in a wheelchair. And they lived in an older house, and the doorways were very small. And they always said, it's fine. We don't need a modified house. We don't need bigger doors. We don't need any type of change to the house at all. But then they did. And when the day was that they couldn't get into the house, they couldn't get into the bathroom. At that point, it was a bigger burden. Okay, so the project here, the idea here is to plan ahead, okay, so that we would have something that would be convenient for us as we age. I talked to the building inspector, and we came up with a plan so there'd be 0 steps. So from the front right here, okay, this front right here, you'd be able to walk up and not have any steps onto the porch, even into the house. Okay, which is kind of important to me. Steps are always an issue for elderly people. And that's something I want to be careful of. Also, from the garage into the house, there'll also be no step too, and that's an issue too. Because I talked to the building inspector about that, and he wanted to have a step so that gasoline was spilled, or fumes, or whatever would have an issue. He was agreeable to have a ramp. Okay, so it would be a short little ramp, so it would still be no step. It would just be an easy transition into the building. So that's the plan, okay, and that's the idea of it, okay. Did you folks have any questions at all?
Yeah. Yes.
Yes, sir.
Let me ask you. All right.
Yep.
So the proposed addition, is that then going to be a single-story building?
Yeah, that's correct.
All right. And is there anything there now? You mentioned something about a garage.
Oh, the garage won't be changed. If you look at this picture right here, that's where the existing garage is.
I'm sorry, where on the picture?
This picture right here.
This is existing.
Okay.
Oh, okay, because I see existing dwelling.
That's true. But think where the driveway comes in. The driveway comes into the garage. That garage will stay there.
Okay.
Okay. So the doctor lines would be new.
So I'm going to mark this as a garage.
Yes, correct.
Yes.
Yeah.
Can I ask a question?
Hold on, let's
Okay.
let the board finish, and then
Absolutely.
and then other people
You
in
might
the
answer
audience
it
can
for us.
ask.
Might answer the question before I ask it.
Okay. All right. So and this little square in between, that's supposed to be like a causeway or a breezeway or a.
It's a porch, but if you look at this plan right here, we flipped it. So that little rectangle's coming the other side. Okay?
I'm sorry.
Yeah, if you look at this picture right here, so the rectangle that you see is actually going to be on the other side.
Okay.
And it's a porch.
So is
It's-
this?
Right.
All right. So this is the plan of the rough of the general idea of the
Yep,
new house.
correct. That's correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so is there going to be any connecting
Yep.
thing between it and the?
That little piece, this piece right here is a connecting piece right there.
Okay.
There'll be a half path there.
We have to keep this.
Oh, yeah.
Also, there's a garage with this.
Yes,
Okay.
that's correct. The garage is part of the addition. No.
What is this little rectangle here?
Well, that rectangle, when I gave it to Joe Webby, I was planning on putting this porch on the other side.
Okay.
And then we thought about, you sit on the porch and you can't see the street, all you can see is the drive, the person's
Oh,
driveway.
I see, all right, so this is
we
gonna
flipped
flip.
it over. Exactly,
It's gonna go here.
that's correct.
All right.
That's correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
So how many square feet are you looking at for the additional dwelling space?
The heated space is 926.75. 926.75 square feet. So one bedroom, one half bath.
Now, the setbacks, you're not asking for any kind of variance as to setbacks from the road or the property lines,
Correct.
correct? Does
He's
it,
got a lot around, no
Okay.
problem with the setbacks.
and obviously it's got plenty of acreage, so.
They're existing.
Yeah, so this is- so, so, yeah, I mean,
Will it be necessary to change the septic system?
The septic system, it fails Title V, so it'll be a new septic system put in.
of course, you know all about that. But,
I do.
all right, but anyway, so, all right, so for the septic system, I assume you have to design it for how many bathrooms are the existing dwelling?
The septic systems are designed based on bedrooms, not bathrooms.
Yes.
So there are 3 bedrooms in the main house. There'll be one additional one in this new addition, so a total of 4. But Plympton requires 1 extra, so 5. So the septic system will be designed for 5. That's a local Board of Health regulation.
Does anyone else have questions before I ask
So,
somebody?
so this is a permit to convert to two-family house?
That's correct. That's correct.
Where is the septic system going to be? It's right here. Right here.
So you're gonna put it, essentially replace where the existing septic tank is now and put a slightly bigger unit?
That's up to the engineer that would make that call, but probably in the same area. It's a logical place to put it.
So if your system fails now, what do you do currently? Or you just simply can use it until you get a replacement? I'm not.
Yeah, that's exactly what happens. Failure doesn't mean it's backing up. It doesn't mean it's still functioning, okay? It just wasn't functioning up to the standards that are required for Title V. So the system is still being used, okay? When you have a failed Title V, you have 2 years to fix it. And I will make sure it's timed correctly with this addition, so it'll all be done at the same time.
So, I mean, I don't know if we, assuming that we grant this what he's requesting, I'm not sure if we can make an explicit condition of a special permit, or it's implicit, but obviously it has to pass Title V for the 5 bedrooms as he's proposed here tonight, but we'll keep that in mind, because, a special permit can, come with reasonable conditions, because after all, it's not something you're allowed as a matter of right, that's why they call it a special permit. But is that, all right, does anyone else?
Another question?
Yes, sir.
Are they both houses going to operate on the same well?
That's correct. Yeah, and one septic system too.
Now, do you need to do a separate perk test for that sort of thing? Or-
Yes,
Okay.
that's correct.
Will there be treatment systems for both residences?
Well, a treatment system's never a first choice, okay? A treatment system, you're talking about like something like a nitrogen removal
Yeah, any
system?
kind of, it just can't come out of the ground into the house, unless you're real lucky.
Yeah, as far as the septic system is concerned, the first goal would be a regular gravity system, okay? If in fact it's high groundwater, then it would be a raised system, and then you have a tank, a pump chamber, and then pump it up to the raised system.
I meant well water system. domestic-
Oh, I'm sorry.
I misspoke.
I'm sorry. No, the well water, there's no treatment that I know of. The water test that I had done was good, okay? When I bought the property, the water test
And
was
you have- So
done.
you have, the services come from a single well.
Correct.
For both properties without
Correct.
water treatment system.
Correct,
Okay, thank you.
yeah. I misunderstood your question.
So in that case, that, there is a well
Right.
pump somewhere on this property, is that
Yeah,
right?
it's in the cellar, the main house.
Okay, so essentially would you need to run another water line from that point to the addition?
Yes, and then also I need 3 electrical services too. One for the main house, one for the addition, and a third one to take care of things that are shared. Like for instance, the well, both buildings are using the same well, same pump. So therefore, that becomes a separate meter.
I have one lighthouse like that. so-
Yeah, and outside lighting and so forth be on that same extra meter.
Mhm.
Okay,
But I think that would be just external lighting, right?
Correct.
Because-
just external stuff, yeah. The common areas.
Okay. Yeah.
So you still don't have a septic plan system?
I'm sorry?
You don't have a septic plan?
No, before I had the septic plan done, I wanted to make sure that the addition was going to be allowed. Okay, I want to go through all the steps to make sure it can be done, because we'll certainly design for the right size.
Yes, I mean, that makes sense, and obviously, the Board of Health is obviously, has to approve the septic.
Of course.
And we can't tell them that we've approved your septic, nor can they tell us that,
Correct.
that you need to approve his addition. So
Correct.
we both have some fears.
Correct.
But essentially, you do understand obviously that, both have to align if you want your ideal situation.
As well as conservation too.
So what, actually, just for my own edification, what role does conservation have to play in your plan?
If you look at the big plan right here, okay, this is all wet.
Yep.
Over here, and what conservation would like all of us to do is stay beyond 100 feet off the wetlands. Okay, if you look at the wetlands lines right here, the house is within 50 feet.
Okay.
Okay, but that's pre-existing, so they're not asking us to move the house. But if you look at the addition, there's a line right here that goes through the middle of the addition, and that line's the 100-foot setback. So since I'm going to be partially within the 100-foot setback, then it's within the jurisdiction of the conservation department to make that.
So you need notice of intent, an order of conditions, all that good
Yeah,
stuff.
exactly.
All right, so.
Exactly.
It looks like the whole addition is gonna be within 100 feet, right?
Half the addition. By half, maybe? Well, maybe more than half.
I see that
I
it's...
think it's this one that's.
Yeah, they're 2 separate lines. Yeah.
So it's different. Yeah, half of it.
It's most of the addition. It is the line right here. Okay.
So let me ask you another question.
Sure.
I believe we do have an ADU bylaw that seems like it could, meet most, if not all your situations. Why ask for a 2-family if you can build an ADU that's pretty much the equivalent of this?
The ADU is a maximum of half the size of the house.
Okay.
The house is only 1,400 square feet.
Okay,
So I'd have to make the addition a lot smaller, okay, and that's the reason
Okay.
I'm looking for it.
And I can see from your living space, you're not exactly have a huge amount of space here. It's,
Correct.
you know, it's good size for, you know, for essentially, as you say, you know, an elderly retired couple, as
Right.
you and your wife
Right.
would like to be, and to do so safely in peace, you know, but you know, you're pretty much, you know, in terms of, you know, area that you have to work with. Oh, is this gonna be built on a slab, no basement or?
There'll be a crawl space.
Crawl space.
Yeah.
So, excuse me again, what are the requirements for the ADU unit?
The requirements for the ADU are a maximum of half the size of the house.
Half the size of the house?
Yes.
So essentially, he's asking for a 926
Yes,
feet house. And
I know, but he did not ask them for the special permit to waive the requirements for the ADU?
No. He's asking,
Asking for two family.
yes, that's a separate form of relief, but I've asked him, you know, why do you do ADU? And he says, you know, that I don't have about 700 feet of house I can build on the law. That's why Dave's house is 1,400. So, right, that's why he needs the two-family, okay. All right, so does any other member board have any questions for Mr. Wilkins? All right, does any member of the audience like to ask anything?
Just basically would like just to make a statement. I'm Dean Chadbourne, 38 Colchester, right next door. I do have one quick question. The septic tank, how close is that to my property line? And which way is the excess gonna flow, since now you got extra people in the
Yeah,
house?
that'd be something to be done by the engineer, I don't really know. There's a septic tank.
No, I see it. Is that 25, 50, 35 feet from the property line? And I just wanna know where the excess from the septic's gonna flow.
Yeah, probably straight back, okay?
Because that's uphill going straight back, and it's a gravity system, it would be going forward.
I would guess this way here.
That's uphill.
Yeah, but we would either dig into, it would either be a pump, that's something we'd find out when we start
I got
digging.
you.
Okay?
Okay.
You know, we have to be a pump. I think in general, we try to avoid pumps,
Yep, makes
just
sense.
because it's one more thing to break down.
Okay.
But that would be an option we could do if we had to.
Okay. All right.
So where did you say the likely flow for the septic would go?
Probably north, I think. Let's see, which one's north? No, south. It'd be this direction here.
Okay, north seems to be this way, so.
Yeah.
You're sitting on the southerly side of Colchester,
It'd
right?
be down this way here.
All right, so-
That'd be the law, again.
Right.
You have to, the engineer would make that call, not me, okay? But that's the logical place to have it go.
okay.
There were separations from property lines, of course, we would stick with all separations.
Right.
And Mr. Chadbourne, you live on the other side of the line on the map, is that?
Right.
That's correct.
Okay.
In fact, his name's on the plan.
So I do think that does kind of get a little closer to the Board of Health's overview in the situation, because obviously they, have to, their regulations and their approval must look to the interests of abutters as well as the owner in terms of what kind of system they approve. Anyway, does anyone else have any other questions or comment they'd like to make before we, talk about deliberating on this permit?
Just one more point. I respect your property rights and you're trying to develop it to your own needs, but I've worked hard to fix my house up, make it nice, and I want it to maintain its value. So if you're doing the addition, so I don't know what the outside's gonna look like. I don't see any plans reflective of that. But if it could be similar to the houses in
That's
the
exactly what
area.
I do.
And
Match the house.
And I know it's not a single family, I can't force that on you. I'm worried about the noise, I'm worried about not being owner occupied, not being taken care of, and just having one more house in the neighborhood that's run down that needs to be fixed and devalued with my property. But I have nothing but respect, whatever the board decides, I'm okay with it, so long as it conforms with the Board of Health and Conservation. It's not my decision to make, but that's my.
Keeping the place looking nice is important to me too. I care as well. I still live in town. If I don't live at this address right now, I still live in town. I still care what it looks like.
So presently, Who lives in the existing dwelling, if anybody?
Sam Morse and his girlfriend Chelsea Gill.
Are they relations or are they just simply tenants?
They're a couple.
sorry?
They're a couple, but they're not married.
so
Oh,
they-
no,
No
not
relation.
related, they're just a tenant.
Okay.
They're not related to me, no.
So Sam Morse, and who was the other one?
Chelsea Gill. Chelsea
Oh, sorry.
Gill is her last name.
Okay, and how long have they been renting?
I bought the place in August, I think it was. I don't think I have that date with me. I think it was August when I bought it, and they moved in right after.
That's August of last year?
Yes, correct.
I mean, I think at this point, unless anyone else has any other questions or comment, I would close the evidentiary portion of this hearing and then move to the deliberation portion.
Yes, sir.
What's your total square footage? It's acres, let's say.
Oh, it's a 8.69.
8.69.
Yeah.
It's,
But most-
there's two on.
Oh, yeah, it looks to me like there's, I'm not sure if that is an actual, I mean, yeah, it's designated as a lot, but it might actually be a single line. But I think it looks like a single parcel. I mean, maybe, I don't know, maybe the assessor's done that to like designate like excess land or
I
Are
think
you
it was,
assessed for two buildable lots, or is the thing on this side of it just like excess land?
I'll have to stop by the assessor's office and ask. I don't.
it was originally a two lots, but when they sold it as one lot, so it reverted to one lot now.
Okay.
So the
Yeah.
division was,
That's the 8.7 acres.
yes, so it's now one lot.
I see.
Because the two lots were not, there was questions about whether it was buildable, and also the frontage was not according to current regulations, and also they just sold it as one lot and reverted it back to one.
Yeah, I
And
mean,
that's my best understanding.
it does look like there's so much wetness on the westerly side of the property. It doesn't look very buildable. Let's see, so,
It's defined as two lots on the assessor's office, is that true?
it seems to be, yes, I mean, according to the map that you see
Okay.
behind you.
This is what pushed.
Oh, I see. Like this thing here?
Yeah, that's it.
It's possible we might not have updated
Yeah, I don't know.
our database yet.
I honestly don't know.
There's a line, it's like, what's that? And now it's, it's the same acres.
Yeah, but as you can see, dashed lines are not unique. This here is also a dash. This triangular line.
Yeah, only it's offset, but it's the same type of situation.
Yeah.
But there's two homes, it's only one.
I don't think there was enough street frontage on the two lots, and that would have to be redivided. So they just put it into one.
Yeah. As long as it's a common ownership, I don't think it matters. Okay, all right, so let's, so now I think we've discussed what we need to discuss. So let us, we're going to close the evidentiary portion of the hearing and then move to the deliberation and discussion portion of it. So I'm going to move that we close the evidentiary portion of it. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Okay. Discussion time. All right, so does anyone have any thoughts about the ultimate issue in this goal? I mean, granted that the statute, the bylaws, I don't think have a great deal of guidance about what we can consider or impose in terms of special permits. The only thing I can think of off the top of my head is we just can't be arbitrary about it. So with that, does anyone have any observation? Board members have any observation to make about how we should move with this?
So now, next time we have a house, they can have two ADU units, so there will be actually 4 apartments.
Yeah, how big of that?
Well, I don't think that was really what what the bylaw was intended to do. I think it was, I think the bylaw was intended, if you have this existing dwelling, you could put an ADU, but we're kind of giving him, if we do produce this permit, we do kind of give him more than what the bylaw, than what the ADU bylaw would give.
Yeah.
So I think that we could put the condition on the permit is that,
There'll
that
be no ADU
there are
units.
no ADU units
So
on either of the
that's
existing.
not allowed anyways. You can't put an ADU on a two-family building.
All right, well,
That's part of the ADU regulation. But I'm sorry, I didn't interrupt you.
no, I appreciate that. Well, if it's, if we can make it explicit in the permit, if it's already in there, then obviously we're covered both ways. But I do agree that, that yes, I think that the 1+1 is, I think, what the limit of what this property can
Unless it's
reasonably
for
expect.
DB.
Listen, yes. And then they got and then, of course, we deal with a whole different ballgame. Let them build it some more.
I've only done 2 other conversions. It's been converting an existing building internally from a single-family dwelling to a two-family. Where this makes a connection was with that included as a.
Essentially, it's an addition.
New construction
Yeah.
to the house. But, I can't decide either way of making a judgment against anything here. It doesn't seem to, it doesn't fall into what we did before, but that doesn't say it's wrong.
No, but before you allowed a conversion from single-family home to two-family home, right?
And your memory, how involved was that, if you can recall, in terms of what they had to do, what sort of building that plan they had to put
I
it
think there
together?
was a need for a fire escape because of the second floor, but this is all first floor.
It's all one floor, yeah.
So, I honestly do appreciate.
And then utilities, I think the power naturally, well, I don't know if it has to be split, but it's 2 families, so it'll be 2 different
Yeah,
It would be split.
meters.
yeah, that's what it
Total
has.
3 meters.
3 meters?
Yeah, 3 meters, one for one unit, one for the other, and the third for the common electricity need.
And they're required 2 parking spots, one for the existing home.
Okay,
Family and the other one for the new family.
all right, well, these guys, you've got more than just a parking spot, they're each gonna have a garage, so there's,
This is the part here that I question.
okay.
On the conversion, family. In terms of structural notes, substantially increase or change the exterior side.
All right, so conversion of a single family to a two-family dwelling, the dwelling must have been existing at the time of this provision of this bylaw was adopted. Alterations to the structure shall not substantially increase or change the exterior size and residential character and appearance, at least 2 off-street parking spaces.
And that must mean one to the existing home, or family one for 2 family.
Yes,
Separate family.
so by that language might restrict a person's ability to make an addition to their property under the special permit scheme, if I read it correctly. Because it suggests that, if you want to convert, you're taking an existing structure, and, you might have to modify it a little bit, as you say, the fire escape, that sort of thing, but here we're talking about, a separate structure that's connected by a concourse here. So essentially, this little rectangle thing, that's, essentially, I'm not sure that's even necessary to the building so much. I mean, you could have just 2 separate structures and just have a short piece of grass in between them. And that's no longer a conversion, that's simply putting on a new dwelling unit on your property, so.
Is that an open porch, Art, where?
This will be
people
open
sit
porch, yes, sir.
And it's accessible via the existing home or the new dwelling?
The porch,
Yeah, the one, that umbilical thing connects both houses.
it's a breezeway, there'll be a half bath in there.
Oh, is it half bath?
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, I see.
Yeah, that little piece right there, that's what you're talking about? Right here?
Yeah, I don't have the
Okay.
picture. Is that like an entry to the house?
It's like a breezeway.
Oh, okay.
There is no
Okay.
addition
Oh, I
right
see,
now,
I
right?
see. Yeah, I
Correct.
just wanted.
Right now,
There-
there is no addition.
So what is currently in this square?
Nothing.
Trees, grass.
Okay,
Yeah.
here's the grass.
Okay, so they park here, come through the door, and they can enter the dwelling here. But there's no.
I don't know, do I
there's no
understand
connection
this
between the
part
other two
correctly,
houses.
that-
They wouldn't have access to the garage, to the
Yeah.
the other.
The dwelling must be existing, and it's not.
Yeah, that'd be the garage.
That's
Interesting.
My English, I'm not a native speaker, but
Yeah, so it
that's
keeps
what I
the garages
understand.
together and the
In
living
order
space
for
is
us to
separate.
grant
A conversion.
a conversion, the dwelling has to exist.
Yes, we have to convert something to something else. I mean, but I want to, but let me see.
Dwelling must be existing at the time of this.
Maybe use your laptop for a minute. See, it's code here.
You can type in what you want to get.
All right, use is authorized by special permit. So, we have to make sure that, when we're dealing with special permits, this will come up, and I believe this is also an issue that'll come to the next matter, is that we must have, that we have the authority to do what is being asked here. We don't have, he's actually looking for, he said,
To me, it looks like there is no conversion. It's just building another completely new structure, building a second family house.
I think that's what you were trying to say before, yeah.
That's what it is.
so it's really two-family, it is allowed, this is the,
Yeah, it's, it'll be 77 except for, yeah.
yes, so, unless you're going under 40, you're going under 40B.
Yeah.
And so, which is at 7.2 is,
It's,
so, yeah, that's what we have to deal with, unless, Alan, do you know of any other bylaw other than 300.7.2H that applies here? Because I'm not seeing anything else that,
14 families.
that seems to be applicable here.
Well, the only, no, I don't, but the only real concern that I think that you might want to consider is ZBA just has to make sure that you're not setting a precedent.
Exactly.
I certainly, I don't, yes, and besides,
That's very important.
It might not be a valid precedent if we say that he can do this thing if the bylaw says that he can't, and then, the next guy comes, and then he might be dealing with a different board, and they're gonna tell him something totally different, and he's gonna point this one, it's gonna be a whole headache that,
It might be worthy of having town council weigh in on it.
If that's the case, of course, somewhat difficult at this particular juncture, considering how we make requests for town council, because essentially we generally ask the town administrator to do that, but she's leaving, so.
Yeah, sounds like you call it, right? That's all.
Okay.
Any of us.
I mean, I could theoretically, but let me just see what else we got.
It's just that, I could say 2 and.
Home uses, so that has something, you can see it on the screen, so. The last part of the sentence seems to be All right, so section 5 shall apply to alteration. It seems to be somewhat restrictive in terms of non-conforming use, because at present, without a special permit, two-family structure would be a non-conforming use, I would think. You know, as I sit here at the moment, I'm kind of at a loss to see how we can grant a special permit for the request, granted that he has to build a new structure on his home, you know, and essentially it's not really a conversion, it's more of an addition, as I think Lucas pointed out, so.
It's not addition. Addition would be if it's accessory dwelling unit. It's basically brand new house, separate house,
Yes.
building the second family
But
house.
still, you know, he's let us assume that, you know, for example, he was, you know, let's assume that, take away the fact of the breezeway. Let's say he's bolting this new thing onto his house, right? He'd still be adding another, you know, 40% of square footage onto his house, because his existing house is 1,400, he wants to add another 900. That's, you know, it's a pretty big expansion of a house, so I'm not sure you really can consider that as what were we talking about? What was, section here? There's the next one.
I wouldn't worry that much about the square footage. It's more about.
Then he'd be limited in square footage to,
What, 900?
no, 700.
50%.
For example. Oh, 50%.
The main
Yeah.
house.
I can- That's,
50% is the greatest you could build.
So anyway, it says, you know, conversion, alteration, structure not substantially increase the exterior size or residential character and appearance. All right, so a substantial increase or change the exterior side, you're adding 900 square feet to 1,400 square feet. I can't see how that doesn't run afoul of that.
The building department looked at these plans? Ethan?
I don't know. I don't think he asked, you know, have you been to the building department?
I'm sorry, sir?
Have you been to the building department?
Yeah, Tom's here. I talked to Tom.
Just
Tom
for
Miller.
clarity, I'm no longer the building.
He was.
Do you have any,
Personally, I don't find fault with the application. It really comes down to the board's feeling of whether it derogates or it doesn't, if it causes any significant problems or it doesn't. I mean, technically, he could just put an addition on the house and then convert it later. I mean, there's any number of options there. Even ADUs fall into a weird category. You could literally put an addition on the house, stick a kitchen in it, because kitchens are not regulated under mass law. You cannot regulate the interior portions of a house in Massachusetts, a single-family home or a residential home. So there's all kinds of gray area that you're dealing with. It really comes down to the sentiment of the board.
all right, so let's take this down the little further. Let's say that Mr. Bloomquist here didn't come before the board and just asked, you know, I want a building permit and I want to put this structure next to my existing structure. Does he have an issue with that?
With the size that he requested, more than 50% of what his actual structure is.
Well, he doesn't have a non-conforming property. He has a conforming property.
Okay.
He'd be limited if his property was pre-existing non-conforming, meaning smaller than currently regulated by the town for size and whatnot. I heard the figure 8 acres, so I'm working with that. He could come in, you know, there is no limit except for coverage of the lot, and he wouldn't even come anywhere near coverage of the lot.
I misunderstood that.
So I think where you're going with that is, could he put up a building and then ask to convert it to an ADU or something else later? Yeah, I mean, technically, yes.
You mean, so if someone came to you with plans for an addition to their house that included a kitchen and stuff like that, you just approve it?
you would have to find a really good reason to not approve it. Again, there is no regulation as to how many kitchens you can have in a house. And Mass General Law specifically says that you cannot regulate the interior portions of a single-family dwelling. You can regulate setbacks and all of that, all those still apply. And then, like I said, lot coverage and those kinds of things. But the internal components of the house, you know, if you're renting it out or something, that's another story. But that's something that comes later. You're gonna have to enforce whatever other bylaws you have. But as terms of the construction, if it were presented to me while I was the commissioner, I would have to grant it. If it came in as an addition.
May I, question for...
Could you identify yourself first?
I'm sorry?
Could you identify yourself first?
Jim Goggin, 35 Colchester Street.
Go ahead, please.
Thank you. Question, you made reference to single family and that you would have to grant it. Now, in this case here, we're talking to a two-family. Is that different, or?
Well, what I'm saying is if it came in as an addition to a single-family home without discussion about an ADU or a second dwelling or anything else, at the time, if I was still the official, I'd be inclined to grant it. And then the conversion would come post that.
Understood.
It gets tricky because now you got to enforce things that you may not actually know about. I mean, none of this is easy.
No, understood.
Zoning's terrible.
Thank you.
Okay.
All right, so I thank you very much, Tom. I really appreciate your input. And perhaps, you know, there is a path forward here, because ultimately, it's, you know, if we consider, you know, the property that's going to be built as the addition and call it a conversion, then I think that the bylaw would grant us the authority, even if perhaps the procedural element of it is not ideal. The spirit, you know, based on what we do, the spirit does seem to suggest that that if he puts on his addition, you know, and then he wishes to convert, then we really would have nothing. We'd really be back in the same place we are tonight, except that there is an existing building, and pretty much, you know, I mean, unless, as Tom says, unless we want to try to be vigilant enforcing our zoning laws, I'm not sure much how we can do. So, I mean, under that view of it, if we essentially the condition now becomes, okay, you can get your conversion so long as you only get a building permit from the building commissioner, then I think that kind of covers the situation. And thus we can, you know, respect the purpose of the bylaw and the realities of, you know, of what people are permitted to build, you know, without undue regulation. So with that way to proceed going forward, I think we could, granted, you know, consider Mr. Bloomquist's permit with essentially conditions that we know before, you know, approval of the Board of Health and Septic System, approval of the CONCON for the setback, for the wetland setback, approval of the building commissioner for the addition, and if he gets all those, you know, you know, essentially, we're not, you know, I can't see any reason why he can't have why he can't have what he's requesting, essentially official permission to operate these structures as two-family. Again, with the other, of course, with the other condition, you know, obviously no ADUs.
Right.
This is what you get. This is what you get. So with that, I think we could issue a decision that would cover all the bases and still not do violence to the spirit of the bylaw. Does anyone else have any observations on that?
I have observation that it doesn't conform to the H point, right? To the paragraph H. Whatever the applicant is willing to do.
Well, as he sits here tonight, it might not, but as Mr. Milius suggested, that he could convert after, convert, then come back and do it. I mean, essentially what we were doing is, condition, essentially before the fact rather than after the fact. Essentially deeming his thing, and that's why I've suggested that if we were to do that, we'd have to have an explicit condition in the permit that says you must get your building permit and you must get this thing built before you get, otherwise the two-family permission is null and void. That's a suggestion I've made that perhaps would resolve the matter without us having to deal with this again in 6 months to a year's time.
Those would be put in the order of conditions.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, can you clarify that one more time? Is it that,
Before you, can you identify yourself, please?
oh, I'm Sarah Walton.
Okay.
I'm
Address?
behind Dean
Okay.
Chatelain,
What's your address?
83 Brook Street.
Okay, go ahead. All right, so,
So is it that the process is not, what you're recommending as a process is that you build the addition, get the permit for building an addition, and then come before you and have it converted?
I think that's how it's supposed to be done.
that is how it's supposed to be done, yes. I
So
think,
I
I think according to
So you
our,
build first.
so, well, I mean, let me ask another question of Mr. Bloomquist.
Yes, permission, right?
Why the applicant didn't follow this way then?
That's a good question, but anyway, but that's not the question. Mr. Bloomquist, how long would it take you to do the things that you would need in order to build the addition, get the new septic system in? What sort of time frame are you looking at here?
Oh, year.
A year. All right, so I think we have two options. We can, because there is the issue, we can either, essentially pre-approve with conditions, or maybe or hold this in abeyance until those things happen and then revisit the matter. But I'm not sure if we can do that without having to do a no notice and a new, a new notice and a new, new hearing. So, I'm not sure which is the correct approach in this situation.
The safest way would be to have second hearing.
So what if we were to deny without prejudice then, essentially, giving him the opportunity to get his addition, get his addition approved by the other authorities in town, maybe building, Board of Health, and COMCOM, and then once he has all those things, to come back, and then, we can decide at that time. Does that make sense to everybody? All right, so.
Basically in favor.
All right, so, now, this is the part where where I'm not 100% sure about the procedure. I think, we do have the authority to deny without prejudice, which means we can hold this hearing again at a later time, without him having to go through the whole rigmarole of having to do the notices and the rest of that stuff. So, that, I think, is what I feel the consensus, if anyone wishes to speak otherwise, I feel that is probably the best way to go about this situation. Is that what we should do is we should deny, essentially deny without prejudice, and permit within 1 year's time his ability to come back to a regularly convened meeting and, hearing and say, okay, hey, I've got my things in order. Can we, we can revisit this? And then we hold a hearing, and we'll do it in the normal procedure, and if anyone wants to object, then they can object, and then we can deal with it at that time. Because, there may, because now that I think about it, if the procedure's supposed to happen where you have I'm not sure it's wise for us to pre-approve something that doesn't yet exist. Because essentially, once you see an existing structure, you can say, okay, is there an objection to this two-family unit? You could say, well, maybe there is, maybe there isn't. He says, yeah, it looks great, no problems here. He said, oh, well, it's falling down, it has structural problems, whatever you might have you. Although it's less like a new construction, I admit, but still, I think that's probably the best way to go.
So you're saying you have to hold off for a year
Yes, I
before
think.
you build?
No, because I asked him, how long do you think it's going to take? He says, if it takes about a year, which makes sense to
Yeah, it's
me.
usually really
So
small.
I think
When I mentioned the year, I was talking about building up. building finished. Are you thinking about just paperwork, or, I was thinking the project would be finished and moved in a year.
Well, I mean, obviously, I think sooner rather than later would be, but I think, I think the bylaw seems to suggest that, you're converting something that exists on the ground, so I think we kind of do need something to exist on the ground before we have unquestionable authority to grant you what you seek. So I think, if you can get it, I think we can hold it in abeyance or, denial without prejudice, however you want to term it, within the space of, with the space of the calendar year. And if we can visit at that time, then, then terrific. We'll just simply just notice a meeting, and everybody's here can mark down their calendars if they wish to come, and as anyone else can. And then we can make a final determination at that point. But I feel that tonight, we just don't have we don't have the authority without the existence of something that's on the ground. So,
If I could say something, are you suggesting I build it, and then you might say no?
that's possible. That's not possible. I mean,
That's kind of a scary thought from my point of view.
It is crazy.
Can I make a suggestion? At least get the septic and approval from the Conservation Commission
Yeah, we will
before we
have
revisit
septic plans
this.
and everything.
I mean, that, right?
Yeah.
And that would be more
Nothing
rational.
exists.
The order of the
Yeah.
steps is fine.
Do everything.
That's a hell of a...
But I think that there has to be a building. There has to be a
To
building.
build the addition and not use it, that's a big
For us,
role.
for us to say, okay, we're going to approve your conversion, there has to be something, as you said, there has to be something to convert. There's something that's physical, not just a piece of paper on.
I have no problem with a conversion by itself. It just doesn't, in my opinion, doesn't conform to the bylaws. We can only convert the existing structure. Nothing exists here.
So, but when it does exist, then I don't see the impediment. Then it can simply just say, all right, should we grant it or not? Because that point, we'll have a structure.
So this is the portion right here, this is
And then at that point, if we have reasons to say you shouldn't,
75%.
we have to articulate that, but I don't hear any of it.
If there is existing structure, I don't think we'll have any issues with that because everything will conform to the. We'll have septic plan, we'll have existing structure, we'll have conservation commission, board of health, everything done. Just come back a little later when everything is ready.
And I think that's what we have to do here.
Is this the front door to the children's?
And they're contiguous. And then, if they want to get a permit, it says you have to put a wall. Okay, so they put the wall up, and take the wall down, and live as a true family. Like you said, it's a penny and a half now. It's not front. Yeah. It's a minimum two and a half. And all they did was change
So I think we are in consensus here of what we should do then. All right, so either, I could see either that we vote to deny without prejudice, which means we come back without having to go through the whole notice requirements again, within 1 year. Or we can hold, I don't want to hold things in abeyance for long. That's just something that you have to think about another year from now. I prefer to be a little cleaner, because if he decides not to.
Yeah, not to build it, it shouldn't be in the time frame.
Yeah.
we would expect these to sign this structure right away. All we have to come back from us once the board of health and Concom approve.
I'm not sure if we can actually do it
It's a
until.
building permit first.
I think, in my opinion, he definitely needs a building permit first.
Special permit.
To get the special permit for the statute, I mean, I think he needs more than just a permit. I think he actually needs to actually have sticks on the ground. He actually, I think if he wants to convert an existing structure, then he has to have an existing structure, because right now, the structure isn't existing in terms of what this bylaw contemplates. And so, all right.
Yeah, it's pretty clear.
Yeah.
It doesn't give it too much leeway.
alteration in the structure should not substantially increase. So I don't think, I think, you know, you can't put the cart before the horse, as much as we'd like to. And maybe,
Basically, trying to do
yeah, it's,
May I?
Sure.
Just a thought.
forgiveness.
What if he goes to building
Build it, they will
committee
come, was that?
asking to build a two-family?
I don't think he could, I don't think, you know, if he went to the building department and asked for that,
Because, and then then it's not a, well, it's a conversion, but it's,
well, it's not an existing it's not, you know, it's not an existing two-family, so,
right, that's,
It's single family already built.
Way on that. Tom's probably had experience with this.
That's as of right in this town, as long as you have enough property to build a two-family. There aren't a whole lot of restrictions on it. I don't know if you have a copy of the bylaws there, but if you look in the schedule of uses.
I think it does say A for allowed for under a two-family, if you, again, if you meet the if you meet the setbacks, and,
Right. And the lot requirements.
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Is there a separate lot?
So it's like a renovation, you know, just add another family structure on to the existing.
That sounds pretty accurate.
It would be a conversion.
it's construction of a two-family, it's a conversion.
If that's the case, then he really doesn't need, to be here, then I would think he would just simply go to the building inspector and say, hey, I meet the requirements, give me my building permit, please.
It's not building. It's not new construction.
Okay, so, so it's not new.
Total new construction.
All right, so,
I'm
so,
sorry,
so essentially, so if you wanted to tear down the existing
Yeah.
thing and then build a two-family on that, then,
Then he can.
all right, but since he can't, but at least that's what he's not, what he wants to do, he wants to, you know, to
Put additional-
modify or expand or add, you know, he needs to come to us, okay, that makes better sense. All right, so, anyway, so I think that, all right, so that I think that answers your question as the procedure, so I think we are back to the point of, I think we should, you know, we should move to deny this without prejudice for 1 year, and at the time, if the structure is built and meets the conforming requirements of the Board of Health, the Concom, the building inspector, you know, and the structure's built, then I think we can reconsider it at that time and then you know, give him a full approval or denial. I think that's the way we should go in this case. All right, so I'm going to make the motion that, as I've said, but I'll say it again for the record, is that I will move that we deny Mr. Bloomquist's application for special permit without prejudice for a period of 1 year, and in that time, if the conditions that we previously discussed, namely that he receives approval of his Title V from the Board of Health, he receives his order of conditions from the Conservation Commission to build his addition, and receives a building permit from the building department, and is a structure that can be converted at that time, then we will entertain his petition and consider it for approval or denial at that time. Now, does that make sense to everybody? Good.
From my point of view, I'd be a lot of money invested if you folks said no. If I finished the building and then you said, I'm sorry, the answer is no, what would I do?
I think we need to have grounds to say no. We cannot
Yes,
just
No,
say
I
no.
mean, no, we can't be arbitrary, and I think the only obviously, you know, if you come back within a year and say one of your neighbors says, you know, I think your plan wasn't right or something, we might have to consider that, but I think that's one of the vagaries that you have to deal with, you know, in the situation, in the regulatory scheme that we rely in. So that's the best I think we can grant you at this time, given what we have to enforce here. So that's the motion on the table. Do I have a second?
Second.
All right, all in favor? Aye. All right, so, anyway, so we will issue a short decision, you know, essentially, you know, outlining what we've done this here tonight, and And hopefully we'll see you back here with an addition and maybe look favorably upon it. That is our decision. All right, so, you guys want to take a break? You want to go on to the next one? Think about these things. Good luck. Think about these things.
Have a big chicken coop.
He gets all those permits, can he then come back without building?
Oh, my goodness. I think I had to build it, I just have all the things.
Who does have this?
See, when he last said it, I felt like he just meant that you had to get all your permits in place. You have to actually. No, it was protocol. So you want to keep it just. That's what they're saying. But then you still need to get the other things for the building.
So you're approved for the addition then, which is if you want to convert it, you have to come back.
So if you have an addition, you can actually have two different families in there. You can't. Can you have your family, let's say, extended family?
You get extra kids.
No, thank you, just two. But, yeah.
Can you guys just use it for a minute? I need to get some.
Thirty-five, 40 minutes.
We'll take videos to show. That would work.
Did you hear what happened at Silver Lake? Did you hear what happened at Silver Lake?
I'm sorry.
Silver Lake. Yeah, like
Something good or bad?
Audio is still on. Audio is still on. Just letting you know.
Still on?
You're not an official recess.
No, we haven't
so-
adjourned yet.
No, so it's running.
Yeah.
I'm just letting you two know.
Oh, okay.
Do you see what I'm saying?
Basically, yes.
Yeah.
I was trying to be helpful. Hey, did you keep it?
I don't know if he fired himself or they fired himself. He might have just resigned. Then he commits suicide. No, but he was a teacher at Silver Lake. Yeah, and I think very well liked. You know?
Yes.
If it wasn't untrue, he still was. something like this.
But there was the thing, something like this in the administration. I will find out. We're meeting in 2 days, but there could be some kind of negligence on the administration side. The kids came, I think the kids came and showed the video to the principal. It's very generated or something like this. You know, those days it's very difficult. You can, you know.
A lot of this stuff, 90%.
Right, exactly, you know. Nancy had told me my whole life, said they, heard about the churches.
Except the jam stuff.
Anymore.
But nobody ever picks up on the jams.
Yeah, constant one of those sensor things, you know, it's a mouthpiece.
Yeah, some people talk that too, but I'm definitely talking worse.
The license is necessary for each
My
family.
dad's like,
So it means that
almost,
language of
he's
40
only, my mom's like that long.
60 houses here, 100, 300 dogs.
Next meeting.
He was so mean.
Kids,
But
they know they
gotta
have
talk about that before we get this calendar.
SLT meeting. Right?
And there will be any restrictions to the kennels, right, on the 40 days.
He said he was getting
Did you ever choose? No. Oh, shit. You still did. You should tell him.
No, I'm good, I'm good, I'm good.
I know, seriously.
Everybody for your patience. All right, so,
I think you were thinking the same thing.
all right, so, okay, let us return to our matter for tonight, the second item on the agenda, which is supposed to start at 7, but sometimes other matters take longer than we anticipate. All right, so tonight, at the request of the town clerk, we have an issue of needing to renew kennel licenses for various permits in the town of Plympton. Now, according to her letter, we have, let's see. Oh, yes, but, well, let me do that first, all right? So anyway, so now we need a third member, because again, our chair is absent tonight,
We
and
need to adjourn the previous meeting first? Did we adjourn?
I think we did. Oh, actually, better still, why don't we formally move to adjourn the previous meeting so we can start the new one? Does that make sense? All right, sorry, so I moved that we adjourn the meeting, the hearing as to Mr. Bloomquist. Do I have a second?
Second?
All in favor? Aye. All right. Okay, that means adjourn, all right? So now we'll start with the next meeting officially. And first, in order to do that, we need to vote in a third voting member for this hearing, all right? So I nominate Alan Wheelock. Do I have a second?
Second?
All in favor? Aye. All right, so Alan, now you're the third voting member for this meeting. All right, so anyway, so now we're here tonight at the request of the town clerk to consider the renewal of kennel permits for various kennels in town of Plympton. Some of these kennel permits have not been renewed, and thanks due to new laws that they require that they be renewed, and we will consider each of them. Now, we have here an issue. We have here 3 personal kennels, 1 hobby kennel, and 2 commercial kennels. And if you see from your packets of materials here, that all these kennels have been inspected within the last 30 days and have had no issues by the animal control officer. However, some of the decisions granting special permits for these kennels are over 5 years. So, and they should be renewed every 5 years. So the town clerk has suggested that we hold this hearing tonight to renew them. And as regards to the non-commercial kennels, there does not seem to be any obvious issue that we have with those. But anyway, I will, in the hobby kennel. So, all right. So anyway, so I'm going to read off the kennels, the kennel licenses here, and the ones that we are currently going to consider first, and then we'll deal with the commercial kennels. All right. So we'll deal with the hobby and regular and personal kennels first, and then we'll deal with the commercial kennels second. So, all right. So I have a personal kennel for Carol Mishkins, I think that's Mishkins. All right, all right, of 92 Ring Road. Let's see. I have a kennel for Philip and Jennifer Gauthier of 50 Colchester Street, and I have a kennel for Kathleen Chouinard of 36 Spring Street. I apologize if I'm mispronouncing someone's name. 37 Spring Street. And finally, I have a hobby kennel that's 6 to 10 dogs. Personal kennels up to 5. Hobby kennels 6 to 10. That's for Jennifer Harju of 57 Cross Street. And you can see here the dates that are their decisions have been made. Some of them pretty old, but now apparently the law is requiring us to insist upon 5-year renewals of the special permits. So now, all right. So I, as to those units, having no issues with inspection. Unless anyone wishes to speak as to any of those units, I see no reason why we shouldn't renew their special permits.
Is anyone here from those kennels, represent those kennels? Do you have any questions or comments?
You read this one?
Yes, we'll deal with that later. All right, so I would entertain a motion to renew the special permit renewals of the kennels I've just listed, and only those kennels for the renewal period, which I think is 5 years. Do I have a second?
Second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, so those four are out of the way. So if anyone has no further interest, then they're free to leave. All right, so now let's take the commercial kennels. All right, so now we have 2 commercial kennels, one owned by one Michael O'Neill of 1 Big Ear Away, and one owned by Amber Bartlett of 8 Elm Street. Now, Mr. O'Neill's kennel is, his dated decision is 2002, and as I understand it, there was no issue then, and he's grandfathered in. Does that sound right?
Where is Big Ear Away?
It's on
West Street in Kingston.
Pardon me?
Off West Street in Kingston.
Like right on the town line.
So it's
500 feet of my driveway is in Kingston, the rest is in Plympton.
Okay.
It's great for address.
I've lived here 50 years, I never heard of Big Ear Away.
So, does anyone want to speak about renewal of Mr. O'Neill's license?
No question.
All right. All right. Well, having heard nothing, and I see no reason to not renew his kennel, I move that we renew the special permit for his kennel for the period of time again, which I think is 5 years. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. All right. That takes care of Mr. O'Neill's kennel. So the remaining kennel is owned by Miss Amber Bartlett, who is here present tonight, I believe, and we have here some materials which make her renewal a little more complicated. So we have here documents. I'm not sure if everyone has a copy of them. From both the zoning enforcement officer, Mr. Milius, and also the planning board.
Mr. Chair?
Yep.
Not to interrupt, but I have copies if no one else has copies.
I'd like one.
There's also supporting documents, but these are the pertinent documents.
Thank you.
Anybody else?
Why don't you got
You
people?
might have gotten an email today, but.
All right,
8 Elm Street?
Yep.
You got that.
I printed out a copy of it. All right, so,
Commercial.
so
Yeah, I've been doing that for 35 years.
I apologize for the length. Like that.
Absolutely. He's coming in with a single lot now.
give me some. All right, so now, so I understand the issue is as follows. That all right, it says here in the zoning officer's letter, oh, by the way, when was this letter written? It's undated, that's why I asked.
Oh, that's interesting. That was back in 2020, I believe, yes. May of 2020,
All right,
subsequent to the 2019 town meeting.
okay, all right, so let's see, all right, so as I understand, all right, so as the documents I here say is that Amber and Paul Cerrone applied for a building permit for a kennel license for 8 Elm Street on May 14, 2019. The annual town meeting that year was held May 15, 2009, the next day. And at that meeting, there was a certain change regarding kennel laws. And I think the question is, what is that, what the change was, what it governed, how it affected the authority of this board to consider the application going forward, and whether constructive grandfathers are in. Essentially, those are the questions we have to deal with here tonight, or perhaps even another night if we can't resolve them satisfactorily tonight. So because the Board of Health has pointed out in its letter, again of 2022, that it sees certain impediments on the basis of on the timing of the application and the annual town meeting. So now, Al, were you on the bylaw committee at that time? So I have.
What changed in the 2019 town meeting was the schedule of uses, which had not been updated for many, many years, was updated. And one of the things that changed is commercial dog kennels were no longer in the schedule after 2019. If their potential use is not in the schedule of uses, it's not allowed.
Yes. All right, so now here the zoning enforcement officer pointed out, has cited the text of the bylaw that existed prior to the town meeting. It says, a single premises with a collection of 11 or more dogs, 6 months or older, that are maintained for any purpose, where 4 or more litters per year are raised, or where the boarding or grooming of dogs is performed as a business. And that's what, and I found a copy of the regulations, and that's, that is the correct citation for it. And in these regulations, it also says hobby kennel, a single premises with a collection of 6 to 10 dogs, 6 months or older, that are maintained for any purpose, where fewer than 4 litters per year are raised. And then kennel is just a single collection with 4 or more dogs, 6 months or older, that are maintained for breeding, boarding, sale, hunting, or any other purpose. So that's what the definitions were back in 2018. And so, can we pull up what they have, now, after the change, can we see what they are today? Let's see, there's actually a section here on rules and
Mr. Chair, can I maybe interject a little bit? If you would allow me, I'd like to make this kind of succinct as to where zoning is coming from.
Go ahead.
At that time, the Sorones applied one day prior to town meeting for their special permit to operate a hobby kennel with boarding. Prior to that, for, I'm sure, good intentions, the then chair of the zoning board of appeals had forwarded a letter telling them that they did not need to do it because it was going to be changed at town meeting and it was going to be an allowed use. They in fact applied anyway, paid the fee, did the proper thing, and applied for a special permit to the zoning board of appeals. After the town meeting, it became more restrictive. Boarding was also removed from the language of the bylaw went silent, if you will, on boarding. However, it still left it in the definitions and it left it in the rules and regulations of how to receive a kennel license with boarding. That aside, the specific point that arose was that the zoning board of appeals did not hear the application. It went 133 days without a hearing. Unacceptable. At that time, the then zoning board chair then became the zoning officer. Nothing had happened at that point. When he resigned, the selectmen threw upon me because statutorily, if there is no zoning enforcement officer, the building official becomes the zoning officer. I looked at it, and clearly 133 days had gone by without a hearing. Statutorily, it needs to be heard in 65 days. Nothing happened. Their application was still on file, their check was still on file. I granted them, or told the town clerk that as far as zoning was concerned, they could issue the permit, the license, excuse me. Just also be clear, there has never been an appeal, never. Not within the statutory 20 days or even since. I don't know why it's become an issue again after almost 7 years.
I have no problem with
I think I'm clearer in the letter, but, you know.
Yes, I understand everything that you said, and I've read your letter. Now, and I agree with you that that under current, our current bylaw still has a definition for commercial kennel, and
the applicant cannot suffer of the former ZBA or official negligence. Or
well, I mean, that, you know, that I need to, you know, that, you know, I want to make sure that we have a clear understanding of responsibility here, and, you know, and to the extent that a hearing was not held, that may need to be addressed. But I want to get to the schedule of uses here. Raising and boarding, so essentially account for raising, that's in the, what we can do for uses, that's under P. But again, you know, and I will be the first, and, you know, I think I might suggest that, that the, sorry, bear with me, please, figure this out. Why don't we see kennel and schedule of uses?
Under dogs.
Okay, dogs, boarding, breeding, and so. Hold on here. I have the old regs here. Let me see here. I'm missing something here. What am I missing? I see dogs breeding and sale here, it says special permit. I see dogs breeding, oh, I see. Dogs breeding and sale, where this says dogs breeding, boarding, kennel, or sale. All right, so.
That's the old thing.
All right, so let me start with this, right? Now, in terms of what we did in 2019, it appears that we cut out the words boarding and kennel from that schedule of uses, but we didn't cut out the whole thing, otherwise we'd probably have a riot on our hands. So I guess the first question, what I think we were trying to do, it might not be a model of clarity in terms of what we intended to do, but I think, we didn't strike out the commercial kennel definition, but I think, in terms of boarding and kennel, if you read that to its natural extent, by striking out the word kennel, do we not also cut out the hobby kennel and the regular and the personal kennel too? It's something I might suggest that there might be a lack of clarity in the amendment to the zoning bylaw.
What's that got to do with this stuff?
The kennel was grandfather, right?
Well, see, that's the next thing. Let us assume for the moment is, I think, the planning board.
Mr. Millias would like to speak.
I just wanted to make sure we understood. That application was in prior to town meeting, which,
But the planning board, I believe, has something to say on that subject.
Yeah. Could I speak for just a minute? So Ann Sobolewski, I'm the chair of the planning board.
Go ahead.
Back in 2022, the property owner came to the planning board to ask questions about how to get site plan approval to expand their business. And at the time, we had had an experience with a different property owner who had filed a bunch of plans for site plan review, and it turned out that their use wasn't authorized under zoning. We didn't want to see the same thing happen all over again. So off the jump, we said, the zoning bylaw changed in 2019. Your overnight boarding is not authorized. The use that you applied for a special permit for in 2019 no longer existed under the zoning bylaw. The law as it stands in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, it is irrelevant when you apply for the permit. You must have obtained the permit before the first notice of publication of the zoning bylaw change to occur at the town meeting. That did not happen here. They did not have a permit before the May 2019 town meeting. Therefore, the use that they applied for did not exist under the zoning bylaw. Under Massachusetts law, the zoning bylaw takes effect as of the date of the town meeting. So it's irrelevant whether or not the Zoning Board of Appeals had a hearing, didn't have a hearing. It could not be constructively approved. It's the same circumstance as if I file an application tomorrow for a special permit for a heliport. You don't act on it within 65 days, it doesn't mean I get to have a heliport. That's not the way the law works. So we sent a letter in response back in 2022 indicating that the interpretation was facially incorrect under Massachusetts law. With respect to the actions or decisions of anyone with respect to this particular permit and this issue, I direct you to Ferranti versus Board of Appeals of Northampton, a 1962 case, which states the governmental zoning power may not be forfeited by the action of local officers in disregard of the statute and the ordinance. If something is not allowed, the action or inaction of the former chair of the ZBA doesn't make it lawful. You can't constructively grant something that doesn't exist. And while this is unfortunate and disappointing, there's clearly a path that could be taken to address the situation, but I will submit that you don't have the authority to renew a special permit that was never properly granted in the first instance. And the last thing I'll say is, the planning board gets a lot of correspondence and a lot of, complaints from people just as we pass through our day in the town of Plympton because it's a small town. The fact that none of the residential abutters to this property ever got to participate in a public hearing about this use that has been continuing for all of these years is not something that, you know, I think Plympton wants to stand for. That's all I'm saying. And by the way, for my qualifications, I've been a zoning attorney for 31 years.
Thank you very much. Ms. Bartlett, you want to speak?
Yeah, I
Go ahead.
can. So I just wanted to bring up the fact that what she states regarding like the permitting process is accurate, but it's also awfully accurate that I have been operating continuously for the last 6 years. The town has recognized the legitimacy of my business every year when they've granted me my kennel license. When I have passed inspections, nobody has ever appealed my business. I've had no enforcement actions, no violations, no complaints. And so, you know, that falls under, even when initial permitting is imperfect, the law is ultimately also looking at the fact that it has been recognized, regulated, and allowed by the town for all this time. And so, I think looking at it from that point, you know, essentially for the last 6 years, I've been operating, the town knew I was operating, and nothing negative has come.
I don't think it's about if you were operating or not. It's about the being.
Yes. I mean, essentially, it is really, the question is our authority to have granted the permit or to acquiesce in the failure to act. You know, I take Ms. Sobieski's points, and I believe that she does have a point there that indicates that the board had no power to act in 2019 by the time this permit was this application was made, and could not have granted it either actively or constructively. And therefore, what it had no power to grant in 2019, we have no power to grant in 2025 by authorizing an extension to a special permit that was void from the beginning. If I believe I understand your point correctly, Ms. Sobieski? Good. However, but even with that, I mean, there's still things we still, before we shut the door, if we can't grant her a commercial kennel, a renewal of a commercial kennel, and again, I think this may be the first time you actually need to seek renewal. This is why I've asked her to come here tonight, because I no longer believe that granting it would be a formality, unlike the other kennels. But what can be done, what kind of operations can occur if we grant her a lesser type of kennel license? Sure.
So the doggy daycare use that was created in 2019 allows all manner of grooming. It just doesn't allow overnight boarding of dogs. So in 2019, the kennel, I'm also on the bylaw review committee, the kennel was removed and the overnight boarding was removed, but the doggy daycare use was created, and it is an allowed use in the business district. You do not need a special permit for it.
Now, that brings me to the point I think the zoning officer raised, that part of her property is in the agriculture and part of it's in the building because it's close to Main Street, I think it is. So does that change anything in terms of what was allowed and what was not? I can't see it, but anyone else wants to speak, I'll be happy to listen.
If I could say one last thing.
Sure.
So because we wrote the letter in 2022, the property owner never came back to the planning board for a site plan review to expand their use. Instead, they expanded their use using buildings that were small enough so as not to require building permits. Mm-hmm. And as long as those buildings, I think, were within the business zone, then the continuation of a doggy daycare use in those buildings is fine. But if the buildings are within the portion of the property that is zoned agricultural residential, then a permit might be required for that use. I can't remember off the top of my head.
Yeah, they're in the business zone.
It doesn't go all the way back to past to the Lewis's house, because the line ends before the Lewis's house.
Where the buildings are, they sit in the building zone, in the business zone.
All right, now, hold on here, please.
We should have a map.
Anyway. Okay, all right, so back in 2019, we did not have, in the schedule of uses, we didn't have, do we have animal daycare? Animal raising and sale, fur bearing, that's not exactly what I think. But anyway, we didn't have animal daycare, training and grooming. That was added probably by the 2019 amendment. So essentially, if the understanding really seems to be, as I understand it here, is can she still be permitted to engage in overnight boarding? The other activities, animal daycare, training and grooming, they require a special permit in the agricultural zone, but they are allowed as right in the business zone. So, for those activities, I don't think we have any, either we don't have any authority, or I see no reason why we can't grant her. No, I mean, because hobby and personal, I don't think that hobby and personal kennels are, she's asking, this is a commercial kennel, not a hobby or personal kennel, and those have different provisions. Where's when I want them, I can't find them.
Are there dogs kept overnight at the facility today? How many?
I think on average, we have like maybe 12, 15.
Again, I mean, it's just, we can grant her the lesser, of a kennel license or a hobby kennel license, but I don't really think that quite fits with her purpose. I mean, but as she says, as long as, it was, as the planning board member says, as long as she keeps her animal daycare business within the business zone part of her property, then she really doesn't need us, as I understand it. However, so the only question is, as I understand it, is, whether we can give her a special permit essentially to authorize overnight boarding on her premises. And if we can't, then that activity must cease.
Well, she's saying that we never had one.
Anyway, but there's other things here in the, all right, so we do have a definition of animal daycare, training and grooming. So, again, it seems to, yes, I mean, premises for use for commercial harboring of 3 or more dogs, uses include the daycare of animals, from 7 to 8, training and grooming, that was added. So essentially, yeah, I can see how it could, the deletion of the word boarding, with this substitution seems to indicate the extent of what can be done as of mid-2019. Is that your understanding, Al?
Correct.
The original application was for the hobby kennel, right?
For a hobby kennel. I mean, if she wants a hobby kennel, I mean, we can, you know,
She wants a hobby kennel or
I mean,
commercial kennel?
and we can give her a hobby kennel, as I understand, for whatever that's
Isn't it,
worth.
isn't it what she wanted, the original application of residence for a hobby kennel?
No,
That makes no sense at all. She has a commercial dog kennel, she's trying to resolve whether it's legal or not.
Yes, I agree, but it does seem like she started off her life, the application's life, sorry, as for a hobby kennel, perhaps with a
So she has,
incomplete understanding.
My
of
initial application was for commercial, it was just in the letter when he responded, he made a mistake, and then later the town clerk had come back and said he mentioned hobby, but it's always been a commercial.
And I think according to her original application, it says to be like a special permit to operate a dog daycare boarding business in the existing commercial building. And I mean, that, again, you know, I think that's pretty clear what they were asking for. All right, so,
Is the overnight boarding of dogs a substantial portion of your business?
It's a huge portion. It will definitely impact my livelihood.
unfortunately, I'm having a hard time, again, with the barriers that surround our decision-making process. We did have an application that was made the day before the town meeting, and that town meeting was noticed, and the changes to the bylaw had to be published prior to that meeting. Is that all correct?
That's correct.
All right, and at that town meeting, those changes were made. And they were enacted as of that date, although again, we have the thing about the Attorney General has to prove them after the fact, but they were still effective as of the date of town meeting. And thus, obviously, a board of appeals could not have granted her permit that she sought the day, you know, and you can't just, you know, the day I apply, you have to get the notice out, you have to hold a hearing and have a decision. So there's no way that, even, you know, there may be some more room to argue it if she had applied and got her permit approved in between the time the notice was made and the hearing was held, but we don't have that here. You know, so we don't have that kind of situation where I could see more room for leeway. You know, and essentially, we have the town meeting, and after that town meeting, this board had no authority to grant through the hearing process, and I could not find any statute that suggests that the board has greater powers constructively by failing to act than it does by actually acting. So unfortunately, I think the conclusion I have to come to is that, you know, the use that the use has been essentially in violation of the bylaw since 2019, and that we cannot grant an extension to a use that was void from the start, and thus the use must discontinue. If I could find any way around that, you know, considering that this meeting has been duly noticed and no one has come to make a complaint about Ms. Bartlett's business operations. No one's complained that her dogs are barking, that the place is unsanitary, or that they're running around loose without leashes, or that the animals are being mistreated. Then obviously we would have more to discuss. But here we're dealing strictly with the matter of, I think, the board's jurisdiction in terms of what it can and cannot do. And unfortunately, you know, sometimes our sad duty, we must enforce the bylaws as written, and I think we must essentially state that overnight boarding can no longer be allowed here, based on that. And I know that we have not acted upon this, and I know that the zoning officer, and I know the zoning chairman at the time, you know, had some, you know, said things that may have been relied upon. And perhaps that reliance, you know, was reasonable, perhaps it wasn't. I mean, granted, we're dealing with questions of statute. And so, but I think that, you know, unfortunately, you know, one thing I would note is the fact that a failure to act does not, you know, this isn't a variance. So there's a statute of limitations that they call like the zoning statute of limitations. It's like a 6-year or 10-year statute. Essentially, it says if the board doesn't act within 6 years of a non-conforming use, then that non-conforming use stays. We've encountered that once or twice in the past, and that was based on, I think, it's like some two-family house. But anyway, but that's not the situation here. We're actually dealing with a use as opposed to the structure. So the structure has no protection. This case that I saw about that, I'll put the citation in the decision, if we come to that decision. But anyway, but as I see it, I think we must reject the special permit.
Can I say one more thing?
Yes?
The other thing, that I had found, and when I was discussing with an attorney is, like, based on what you were just saying, the town, like, the action that the town took was to tell me that I didn't need a special permit and that I was good to move forward. And based on that, I moved forward in good faith based on the direction that I received from the town. And this wasn't a small thing. They told me I didn't need it. I relied in good faith on what they were telling me. So I moved forward. I spent almost $200,000 building out and setting up this business. And, I just feel like, yes, even if there was an issue, with the specifics of the permit, there's so many other factors, whether they're legal or otherwise, that essentially I'm sitting here 6 years later, having been operating every year based on, the direction that I was given from the town, which, again, caused, it was a huge investment, and it's a huge livelihood hit. All my clients that I've built for the last 6 years, now they don't get the service that they need. I don't know.
Tom, just so I'm clear, the person who made the decision in 2019, was that Alan Frazier?
No, it was really Ken Thompson.
It was Ken Thompson.
Alan Frazier made the decision on the property because it was zoned both agricultural and business.
If I could just like to say one more thing, one brief thing. I mean, it is terribly unfortunate, the situation that is here. That is not to say that there isn't some potential future way to address the situation going forward. But, I mean, the case law, Ferranti versus Northampton, it even says, the plaintiff landowner is presumed to have known and to have acted at their peril. It's not the town's job to be the lawyer for an applicant. That's not the way the situation works. If you want to understand what you can and can't do, you can't rely on the statements made by an individual town employee or chair of the ZBA. You have to look at what the zoning says. And the last thing I'd say is, I don't know if this particular meeting provided notice to all the abutters and abutters within 300 feet of this property. I don't know that those people noticed the notice in the newspaper. So to say that there's nobody here objecting, I can tell you that people have objected to the planning board. I tell you people have objected to me, but if they didn't get notice of this, the neighbors are not going to come here because they don't know.
To the last point that you said, I honestly, as far as I know, no mailings were sent out to abutters. I don't see in the file, I believe that the town clerk did initially, take this as a matter of housekeeping, and that the approvals were deemed to be automatic, and for the remainder of the other kennels, they were, more or less. However, this one, an issue has arisen, and therefore we must deal with it. And so I would take to your point that, as far as I know, that the abutters have not been notified. And so I haven't sent an email. I was doing this as sort of at the request of the town clerk. So, however, even if every one of her neighbors came and said, she does a great operation. I never hear of the dogs. I don't even know that they're there. They probably won't say that. They might say I have a problem, whatever, here again, still there's the question of ultimate authority. And I do take your point that one member of the ZBA cannot really speak to anything, except maybe to scheduling, as sometimes I've been known to do. But anyway, it must, the board did not convene a hearing on this. Again, that for reasons that are unknown. Dave, weren't you on the board at that time? No one, and it does seem to me like the chair at the time, took it upon himself to advise Ms. Bartlett that she didn't require a special permit. But that advice was incorrect. But I do take your point, having some legal training of my own, that advice is probably, from a legal standpoint, not something to be relied upon. Granted, and of course, what the zoning enforcement officer did, or didn't do. I mean, I guess that's, the Board of Appeals has somewhat limited control over what the officer does. The officer brings cases to us, or he doesn't bring cases to us. That's his job. He issues the fines, and if someone doesn't, or he tells someone that they have to stop doing something. If they don't, they can come to us and they can say, this is, he's wrong, and we can make a decision on that. But in terms of, if the zoning officer does not act, obviously then our authority is somewhat limited. But now we have a situation where we have to, that the matter is before us because this applicant wishes to have her permit renewed. And as far as I can see, there are statutory barriers that prohibit us from doing that. Or even if we did do that, essentially we would be acquiescing in illegal use of the property, which, again, my sympathies and my duties, are conflicted here. So unfortunately, unless anyone wishes...
I think it would be more than appropriate that before we make any type of motion or vote on this, is to ask town council to weigh in.
Yeah, I could second that.
I would agree with that. But Ms. Sobieski, you mentioned something about a path forward, I think twice now. What could you anticipate that being?
I mean, I think it's always possible to reconsider the language of the zoning bylaw, to make modifications to the bylaw. That couldn't happen until a special town meeting or the regular town meeting next year. But, if there are concerns about the way it's drafted or a desire to allow this type of use again, that's definitely something that could happen.
Does anyone recall I can't recall off the top of my head, but we don't have I couldn't find the minutes for the 2019 town election. I can find everything else, but just not those. Just go figure. But anyway, does anyone recall if there was any, substantial discussion, a close vote or anything like that at town meeting that year?
No, it was unanimous.
All right, so I think, I think that addresses that. So I would suggest, I will make a motion that we continue this hearing and refer the issue to town council for his or her, whoever they assign for his or her opinion on the application.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. With that business concluded, I don't think there's anything else before the board tonight, is there? No? All right, with that, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Oh, wait, actually, sorry, no, we still, we need to schedule another meeting we need to come back here we're gonna have town council, give his or her opinion on this issue, see if there's any way forward, because obviously there is, I'd be interested in hearing it.
We have to withdraw the motion.
What's that?
We have to withdraw the motion.
No, this is a scheduling thing. We haven't.
Yeah, but we had a motion on the table and it was seconded, right?
Yes, the motion to refer the matter to town council, that's been allowed.
Oh.
Now we just need to do the scheduling before we adjourn. So we just need dates. Let's see, calendar time. Let's see. would suggest I would suggest we give 30 days, so we give ample time for town council to consider this, and who it's, I'm not sure who they're gonna be. I mean, whether they'll have Carolyn or whether they'll have someone else, I don't know. They might, depends on what their specialty is. All right, so, let's see, today is the 14th, right? How does May 13th look for people?
Fine for me.
Fine. Double check.
Does that work for you, Miss Bartlett?
The 13th?
Yes.
Yes.
Actually, is that town meeting?
Oh, yeah, that's not gonna, I think that could be.
Probably is.
All right, so we can't do it that week. We can't do it that day. Town meeting's not gonna affect us anyway, so. All right, how about May 20th instead?
May 20?
Mhm.
Works.
All right. Is any?
6:30?
6:30, all right. All right, so we will have the next hearing on this matter on May 20th at 6:30 PM. And I think it would be appropriate, to ask, we might, consider about notifying potential butters if that might be a prudent thing to do, so essentially that, if anyone wishes to speak, pro or against, they will have that opportunity. But anyway, but I think May 20th will be the next date, barring accidents. All right, so next meeting, May 20th, 6:30, we'll talk to town council, we have to ask permission from the town administrator to speak to town council on this matter. I doubt she'll object. But anyway, and after that, we'll come back, we'll have a further discussion, and that's how we must proceed. Now, with that, if there's no other business, then I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor? Thank you very much, everyone, for coming.